Let's talk to John Strickland. He's a director and aviation analyst at JLS Consulting. Good to have you, John. So, was it worth the wait?
In the sense of the order books, it definitely is. The airlines will be delighted to get their hands on these aircraft, although this is just the first delivery to ANA. Boeing's got more than 800 orders in the books, but as you said, the plane is more than 3 years late. That has meant enormous expense and headache for Boeing, overcoming technological problems, dealing with customers who, of course, are angry that their aircraft that they expected to have in service are not yet delivered.
Just talking a bit more about the plane, I mean, Boeing says that the technologies in this plane are going to serve as the backbone of its planes for the next 30 years. Now, the key thing here, the key selling point, is that it uses less fuel, correct?
Absolutely, and that's why the order books are so strong. It's coming exactly the right time, although the aircraft's been in design and manufacture for several years. Now, of all times, with rising fuel prices and airlines recognising that for the long term, fuel is only going to be on an upward trend, they want to get their hands on planes which burn less fuel, and this per passenger burns around about 20% less than predecessor aircraft.
How's it going to change the way that airlines design their routes?
It's a smaller aircraft than some of those that it replaces. It's typically got between 200 and 300 seating configuration. That's much smaller than, say, the current 747 jumbo jet, which has got about, on average, 350, 400 seats. What it does mean with that smaller size, lighter weight, longer range and better fuel economy, it's going to make some routes which previously may not have been viable become economic. So we could see more smaller direct routes opened up. The aim for this is to give more direct air services rather than flying via hubs. So if you as a passenger previously had to go from destination A to your end destination C via a hub,
I certainly
now you may be able to
direct.
get a direct flight.
Now, how else is it going to improve the passenger experience? I mean, why do bigger windows make a difference here?
Well, because the aircraft is made primarily out of carbon composite structures and much less in the way of metal, it has less issues in terms of humidity and metal corrosion. That means they can have better techniques for pressurization, cabin humidity. These larger windows, I suppose it's just an aesthetic, they're easier to see out, but they're self-dimming windows. You can touch the window, they'll dim down, lighting effects in the cabin to simulate dawn and sunset rather than that brutal awakening you sometimes get after an overnight flight.
Now, let's talk about the challenges that it faces. I mean, you mentioned that it's got to deal with the penalties that it's going to have to pay to its customers who have had to wait. That's a challenge. And then you also they still haven't managed to get the production of these aircraft steady.
Well, in many ways, Boeing is now looking and reflecting, did it try to do too many things too quickly? It went in for this new technology, it went in for new onboard systems, and importantly, it went for a different technique of manufacturing, with about 80% of the aircraft being outsourced rather than making it in-house. In or around its typical manufacturing area of Seattle, it's been made all over the world, and this has meant that Boeing and a number of other manufacturers have together been facing these problems. This may serve Boeing well for the future, but certainly this is what's caused these delays and led to it now going to have to pay out compensation payments.
And that's going to affect its bottom line for years to come.
Absolutely, because normally you would think with a brand new plane to have 800 orders in the book, you would be laughing all the way to the bank. This is not the case for Boeing, not only with the cost of the investment in development, but with these delay penalties and compensation as well. They could, according to some experts, sell over 1,000 planes and still not be making money. So it's not expected they'll see a return on this program for quite some years yet.
Ultimately, though, John, it's been 7 years delayed. 8 years ago, it lost its top spot, Boeing, for industry aircraft orders to Airbus. Is this plane going to help it regain that top spot? And if so, when?
I think the orders speak for themselves, and as Boeing and Airbus both estimate that the size of market for this particular type of aircraft, long haul, relatively small capacity, runs into several thousand, they can both take a big chunk from that market. Undoubtedly, it gives Airbus the chance to steal a lead as well. They have the Airbus A350 on the drawing board, but it's not yet built. It's not even in prototype form. And I think both manufacturers will, in the medium to long term, do well from this. But Airbus can profit from Boeing's pains by learning lessons for its own production processes.
Okay, John Strickland, thanks very much from JLS Consulting.